The sky above Haven's Rest blazed orange as Captain Jake Morrison stared at the descending alien ships. Standing atop the colony's defense tower, he clutched his rifle tightly, heart pounding against his chest. 3 colossal crystalline vessels swept down like predators, their hulls pulsing with eerie blue radiance that made his eyes sting. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Zephyrian fleet," Lieutenant Amy Foster called out behind him from the comms console. Despite her discipline, her voice wavered. "They're demanding total surrender of all human personnel and colonial assets." Jake tore his gaze away from the encroaching threat and turned to Amy's pale, tense face. She couldn't be more than 25, fresh out of the academy. This was her first real combat experience. Hell, it was everyone's first time facing the Zephyrians. Stories from other colonies had painted grim pictures, but seeing those alien warships in person turned every tale into something childish and naive. "Tell them we politely decline," Jake said, keeping his voice as calm as he could. "And patch me through to Sergeant Martinez." The entire tower shuddered as the first energy blast hammered the colony's outer shield. Through reinforced windows, Jake saw the community center, where his daughter had played just last week, dissolve into glowing fragments. Zephyrian weapons didn't destroy. They erased. Stone, steel, flesh. It all became drifting cosmic powder. "Martinez here," came the sergeant's gravelly voice over the speaker. "About 200 civvies still waiting in the evac zone. The crystal freaks are closing fast. We're holding, but our guns barely scratch them." Jake knew the man was being charitable. Human plasma and kinetic firepower might as well be slingshots against the Zephyrian war machines. These aliens had been conquering systems long before humanity even built its first lunar base. Every recorded battle had ended the same: complete human collapse in under 6 hours. Another blast rocked the tower. Jake grabbed a support beam to stay upright. Through smoke and tremors, alien troops were already deploying. The Zephyrians stood nearly 8 feet tall, their bodies armored in the same glimmering crystal as their ships. They moved with deadly grace, weapons charging with that fatal blue glow humanity had learned to dread. "Amy, how long until the last transport leaves?" Jake asked. 15 minutes, sir. But at this rate," the comms console exploded, in a flare of sparks cutting her off. Amy shrieked and fell, smoke rising from her uniform. Jake dropped his rifle and rushed to her side, checking her condition as war tore through their final stronghold. War Commander Vex Ara watched from the bridge of his flagship as the human colony below succumbed to fire and collapse. The primitives, scattered like frightened insects, their pitiful defenses flickering uselessly against the shielded might of the Empire. He felt only mild irritation at the delay. His forces could have erased this outpost in minutes, but orders from the Supreme Chancellor were clear. Human resistance must be punished with spectacle. Let the other colonies witness the fate of those who defy the Zephyrian Empire. "Commander, human non-combatants are attempting evacuation," reported his tactical officer. "Do we strike their transports?" Lexara narrowed his eyes, watching a pack of human children being herded onto a crude shuttle. Their wide eyes stared fearfully at his warships through the shuttle's grimy windows. In the long chronicles of Zephyrian conquest, they'd learned psychological devastation often achieved more than raw destruction. "Let a few escape," he said coldly. "Let them carry tales of our dominance. Fear can cripple where weapons fail." He turned back to the battle map. The last of the human resistance was forming around their command hub, desperate and cornered. He had seen this pattern play out over 17 species. Defiance turned to panic. Then came surrender, or extinction. Humanity would be no different. Jake pulled Amy to her feet as a section of the tower crumbled behind them. Her left arm hung limp, scorched, and useless, but she was alive. That alone was a miracle compared to the rest of his command. The defense center had taken 3 direct hits, and what remained of their communications gear was nothing more than slag and ruin. "Sir, we need to reach the evac zone," Amy said through gritted teeth. "That last shuttle won't wait." Jake nodded, retrieving his sidearm from the floor. Through shattered glass, he spotted Sergeant Martinez and his squad executing a fighting withdrawal toward the landing pad. The big Marine carried a wounded soldier on one shoulder while firing one-handed with the other. Martinez was a living legend among colonial forces, but even legends couldn't stop crystal-armored titans armed with antimatter death rays. Jake and Amy hurried down the emergency stairs, stepping over wreckage, bodies, and pools of molten plastic. The air burned their lungs with every breath, ozone, smoke, scorched metal. Every inhale felt like swallowing razors. Behind them, the Zephyrians advanced with brutal precision, their weapons vaporizing homes, monuments, and shelters alike. "There!" Amy shouted, pointing at the landing zone where the final transport roared to life. "We can reach it?" Jake stared at the 200-yard stretch of open ground between them and the only chance of escape. Zephyrian troops moved through the ruins like phantoms, their crystalline armor catching the firelight in hypnotic flashes. Buildings winked out of existence every few seconds, reduced to particles by technology no human had yet understood. "Stay low." "Keep moving," Jake ordered. "If I don't make it—" "You will, sir. We both will." Together, they sprinted through the burning graveyard of their colony, dodging between wrecked transports and flaming wreckage. The transport pilot saw them coming and kept the engines running, even as energy blasts scorched the landing pad. Sergeant Martinez was already inside, guiding wounded civilians to seats while scanning for any Zephyrian pursuit. One of the alien warriors appeared 50 yards off to the left, its weapon pulsing with that deadly blue charge. Jake shoved Amy toward the transport and raised his sidearm. He knew it was a hopeless gesture, but he couldn't just run. The Zephyrian fired. The air cracked with energy. Then Martinez stepped in, unleashing a barrage of plasma fire. The sheer force made the alien stagger. Its crystalline armor soaked up most of the hits. But the interruption bought Jake and Amy the critical seconds they needed to climb aboard. "Move! Get in!" Martinez bellowed as they scrambled inside. The transport engines roared as it lifted. Off. More Zephyrian troops spilled onto the landing zone below, too late to stop them. Jake looked down at Haven's Rest, watching it vanish as they rose into the void. A home once filled with 5,000 souls was now a crater, glowing with embers and dust. In just 4 hours, the aliens had erased it like chalk wiped from a school board. Admiral Kate Sullivan read through casualty reports flashing across her command screens. Haven's Rest was the 14th colony lost in a month, and intelligence hinted that the Zephyrians were only accelerating. General Paul Hayes paced furiously behind her, face flushed with helpless rage. "We can't keep losing outposts like this, Kate. Our fleet can't be in all places at once." Meanwhile, Captain Alex Stone floated weightless in a docking bay airlock, facing the most incredible and terrifying ship he'd ever seen. The USS Black Star hung before him like a living shadow, its surface shimmering and shifting as though made of liquid metal. Even in the soft light of the hangar, it seemed to devour photons, casting the illusion of a tear in space. "First time. Seeing her up close, Captain," came Commander Lisa Park's voice over comms. She floated up beside him, her expression hidden by the reflective visor of her EVA helmet. "Pictures don't come close," Alex replied, staring in awe as parts of the hull rippled like disturbed water. "How does something that massive move like it's alive?" Lisa ignited her suit thrusters and glided toward the ship's docking bay. "Wait until you see what she does in battle. Dr. Wright and his team went beyond anything we thought possible." The docking process felt unlike anything Alex had ever known. Instead of standard clamps or seals, the Black Star's hull opened silently and enveloped their shuttle, smooth as swallowing. The transition was seamless. One moment they were in vacuum, the next, artificial gravity gripped him, and the shuttle was oriented to the deck. Inside, the ship's passageways ignored every norm Alex had learned in 2 decades of naval architecture. The corridors curved and breathed, glowing faintly with internal light that subtly reacted to their movements. When he touched a wall, his fingers sank in slightly before it firmed again. "Adaptive metamaterials," said Chief Engineer Ryan Cooper, joining them. Thin, grease-smeared, and slightly wild-eyed, he looked like someone who hadn't slept properly in months. The whole ship's programmable structure, layout, even chairs can be reconfigured at will. They walked toward the bridge, passing crew who moved with focused discipline. All were hand-picked for this mission. Lieutenant Noah Davis glanced up from a weapons console growing from the deck itself. The interface morphed to display unfamiliar weapon arrays. Lieutenant Maya Kim stood nearby, manipulating 3D star charts that spun around her hands like living maps. "How many people know about this ship?" Alex asked as they approached the bridge. "Outside of this crew? Maybe 50 on Earth," Lisa replied. Construction was compartmentalized, 12 sites total. Most engineers didn't even know what they were building. The bridge itself was something out of science fiction. No rigid consoles, no fixed chairs. Everything. Admiral Sullivan's face appeared on the main screen, etched with fatigue and heavy concern. Behind her, the Pentagon's crisis room pulsed with motion. Officers scrambled between terminals while tactical maps glowed red across sectors of human-controlled space. "Captain Stone, the situation is deteriorating fast," she said, her voice clipped. "Latest intelligence confirms the Zephyrians are assembling their entire fleet for a final assault on Earth. Estimated arrival at the outer defense line, 2 weeks." General Hayes stepped into view, his lined face set in grim resolve. "Alex, I know the Black Star isn't fully commissioned, but we're out of time. Our regular forces can't repel what's coming." Alex glanced around the bridge at his crew. Warriors forged in secrecy, trained on tech most humans didn't even know existed, prepared for a fight that civilization had already decided was lost. Lieutenant Noah's tactical screens showed Zephyrian fleet formations crawling toward Earth like an unstoppable tide. Maya's navigation data outlined just how much of known space the enemy already controlled. "What are our engagement protocols, Admiral?" Alex asked. Sullivan's expression turned cold, resolute. "You have full operational autonomy, Captain. Engage enemy assets wherever possible. While our main fleet tries to delay them, your mission is to remind the galaxy, we will not go quietly." The signal cut out, leaving only the low hum of Black Star's systems. Alex felt the ship responding, not mechanically, but like a sentient being adjusting to him. Oracle's presence was everywhere, invisible yet felt, as though the vessel itself anticipated the coming battle. "Ryan, status report. How long until we're at combat readiness?" Chief Engineer Cooper reviewed streams of flowing diagnostics, fingers dancing across hollow panels. "All major systems are green. Quantum weapons arrays need 6 more hours for final calibration, but if it comes to it, we're combat-capable now." Sergeant Lucy rose from her post, eyes gleaming with fire. "Captain, we've been drilling non-stop. My gunners are ready. Let's give these crystal freaks a taste of real human firepower." Alex felt the weight of command settle over him again, an old burden, now made heavier by what was at stake. In 2 weeks, the enemy fleet would reach Earth's doorstep with enough weapons to burn the planet to ash. Humanity's remaining fleets would stand. They'd fight. They'd die, like every other doomed defense. But this time, they had something different. They had Black Star. "Lisa, plot a course to the Proxima Centauri system," Alex ordered. "Long-range scans indicate Zephyrian staging activity there. That's where we hit first." Commander Park entered the commands swiftly, her hands a blur across the curved interface. "Course plotted, sir. Quantum drive primed for launch." Alex leaned back into his chair as the ship responded, lights dimming and pulses of power surging through its living systems. Black Star wasn't just a war machine. It was humanity's answer to centuries of alien domination. The galaxy was about to learn a hard truth. Humans didn't fight because they were cornered. They fought to win, and anything that stood in their way would vanish from existence. On the bridge of his command vessel, Admiral Caxron watched 60 Zephyrian warships drift in perfect formation, glowing like a constellation of death. The Fourth Fleet was the largest strike force his species had ever deployed, each ship outfitted to vaporize entire continents with a single barrage. Behind them, a vast chain of supply ships and staging platforms stretched across space, fed by 17 conquered worlds, all now aligned for a single purpose, the annihilation of Earth. "Admiral, long-range scanners detect a single vessel approaching. Origin, inner system," reported the Zephyrian tactical officer. His crystalline features twisted in confusion, not fear. "It reads as human, but the design doesn't match anything in our archives." Admiral Sexran stepped forward, his towering, 8-foot form casting shadows over the star map. A lone red marker sped toward his fleet at impossible velocity, either supreme arrogance or total madness. In all his centuries of conquest, he had never seen a species reckless enough to send a single ship against 60. "Open communications. Let's see what this fool wants," Sexran ordered. "Maybe he's come to beg before we reduce his craft to atoms." The main screen blinked to life. A human male sat calmly in what looked like a command chair, entirely unfazed. Behind him, others worked at stations seemingly formed from flowing metal rather than fixed consoles. "This is Captain Alex Stone of the USS Black Star," the human said with quiet certainty. "You are trespassing in human territory. Withdraw your fleet now." The bridge of Sexran's warship erupted in mocking laughter. Officers flashed gestures of amusement common to Zephyrian culture, signs reserved for absurd threats from lesser beings. Sexran, however, felt only mild annoyance and a twinge of pity. "Captain Stone, I am Admiral Sexran of the Fourth Fleet. You stand alone against 60 warships. This is your last chance to surrender before we obliterate you." Alex's expression didn't change. "You have 10 seconds to retreat, Admiral. After that, I'll show you why humanity is no longer prey." Sexran scowled and cut the transmission. "Target that ship. Erase it. Let its death mark the beginning of Earth's end." 20 Zephyrian warships fired at once, energy lances screaming across space, each one powerful enough to destroy a moon. The beams converged on the Black Star in a storm of white-blue annihilation. When the flare dimmed, the human vessel remained, untouched. Its surface drank the energy like water into sand. No damage, no visible change, just the eerie shimmer of armor that seemed to ripple like ink on water. Sexran stared, disbelief widening his eyes. The ship began to change, its hull shifting like molten silver, flowing and reshaping. "Impossible," the tactical officer whispered. "The vessel's structure is altering at the molecular level. It's adapting to our weapons." Aboard the Black Star, Captain Stone felt the ship respond like a living entity flexing for combat. Oracle's awareness coursed through the systems. Calculating, adjusting. "Oracle. Tactical overview," Alex said, watching the alien formation shift in preparation. "Their armament relies on standard crystalline energy projection," Oracle replied. "Predictable frequency, easily countered. Their formation suggests brute force reliance, not strategic depth." "Captain," Noah Davis called, eyes fixed on data-rich displays made from refracted light. "I have targeting solutions for all 60 ships. Recommend striking the command vessel first. Disrupt coordination." Alex nodded and opened ship-wide comms. "This is the captain. Prepare to engage. Trust your training. Trust the ship." "Oracle. Activate autonomous defenses." The Black Star surged forward, cutting through space not with thrust, but with an unnatural fluidity, like a predator through a celestial sea. Zephyrian targeting systems tried to track it, but the ship's movements defied conventional flight. It swam. "Fire," Alex ordered, the main quantum array activated. No beam, no sound. Just an update on the tactical display, one of the largest. Enemy warships. Gone. No wreckage, no radiation spike. One moment it existed. The next, it didn't. Panic rolled through the Zephyrian fleet like a tidal wave. Sexran's sensors showed the impossible. A warship, 2 centuries old, crewed by thousands. Erased. "All vessels, concentrate fire," Sexran shouted. "Maximum! Output! Bring it down!" 59 ships lit up the void, discharging every weapon at once. Enough power to burn planets to ash-flooded space. But the Black Star danced between attacks, its hull adapting mid-flight. Beams that struck it simply vanished, swallowed whole. At the weapons console, Sergeant Lucy Graham grinned, locking onto 3 more targets. Her fingers moved with instinctive grace, the ship's weapon systems responding like extensions of her body. "Secondary targets locked," she said. Firing. 3 more Zephyrian cruisers vanished, instantly. Their absence carved holes in the formation that Oracle exploited without hesitation. The Black Star darted through the fleet, reappearing behind enemies before they could turn. It hunted them. Killed them. From her station, Maya Kim tracked movement that didn't obey the laws of space. "Captain, we're slipping between quantum layers. Normal space can't contain our vectoring anymore. We're appearing wherever we want." "Confirmed," Oracle added. "Our dimensional phase drift allows for untraceable repositioning. Enemy formations are fragmenting." Alex watched the battlefield unfold. Chaos, fear, surrender. The Black Star didn't just destroy, it terrified. "Captain," Maya called. "Reading severe electromagnetic disruptions throughout enemy lines. They're scattering, no central coordination." Sexran stood paralyzed as his empire's greatest fleet was torn apart. In just 30 minutes, the enemy had erased 27 warships without taking a single hit. His own flagship shuddered as the quantum shock wave from a nearby erasure passed through the hull. "Admiral, we must fall back," his tactical officer urged. "This weapon, it defies natural law. We can't fight what doesn't play by our rules." Sexran turned toward the tactical display, watching the remainder of his fleet disband. Ships fled in every direction, but none escaped the Black Star's reach. It moved among them like a reaper, choosing its kills with terrifying indifference. The Fourth Fleet, his pride, his empire's hammer, was being annihilated by one ship. "One," he whispered. "Open a channel," he said finally. "To the human." The screen came alive once more with Captain Stone's image, still calm, still collected. Around him, his crew worked with silent efficiency. The humans weren't celebrating. They weren't panicked. They were executing. "Admiral Sexran, do you wish to surrender?" Alex asked, his tone polite, almost casual. The Zephyrian leader glanced around his shattered bridge, surrounded by officers who could no longer meet his gaze. 3 centuries of domination had left, them unprepared for an enemy who could erase fleets like chalk from slate. The humans were no longer prey, and the galaxy would never return to what it was. "Captain Stone, I will deliver word of this encounter to my superiors," Sexran said. "At last. The Empire must understand what humanity has become." Alex gave a respectful nod. "Tell your Supreme Chancellor that Earth is now under our protection. Further assaults on human colonies will result in total annihilation." The signal terminated, leaving Kexron adrift with the broken remnants of his once unshakable armada. All around, empty space marked where warships had stood moments ago. 60 had arrived. Only 15 now fled back toward Zephyrian space, drives burning at maximum to escape the predator that had hunted them without mercy. The human vessel remained still, floating in silence, its obsidian hull pulsing like a heart. It had changed the rules of war, shattered the laws the Zephyrians thought unbreakable. One battle had reshaped the balance of galactic power, and Admiral Sexran would carry that nightmare home. In his crystalline throne chamber, Supreme Chancellor Vexith crushed the report tablet in both hands, shards scattering across the polished floor. His breathing echoed through the chamber, deep and ragged. Admiral Sexran's account defied logic. One human vessel had annihilated 45 warships in under half an hour, without taking a single hit. Lies, he snarled. Humanity is primitive, barely spacefaring. They cannot possess technology superior to ours. His voice shook. The chamber walls, carved from living crystal older than empires. The war commander stood stiff before him, armor scorched from recent engagements. Chancellor, he said with visible restraint, I witnessed their capabilities firsthand. Their standard forces remain inferior, yes. But the vessel known as Black Star operates beyond physics as we understand it. Vexith rose, casting a massive shadow over the assembled generals. 12 feet of living crystal, the embodiment of Zephyrian supremacy. For 3 centuries, they had crushed 17 species beneath the Empire's boots. Each conquest had reinforced their belief in destiny, Zephyrians as apex predators. Now that certainty cracked. Deploy the Void Hunters, Vexith commanded. The chamber fell silent. The Void Hunters were more legend than weapon, ancient constructs. From the Empire's earliest days, crafted with stolen technologies from civilizations long extinct, forbidden relics, entombed for millennia. Feared even by those who built them. The commanders didn't argue. They only bowed. Meanwhile, aboard the Black Star, Captain Stone stood on the bridge, reviewing updated recon data, scrolling across living panels that pulsed with soft light. 3 weeks had passed since Proxima Centauri, and the tide had turned. Where once humanity had retreated, they now advanced. The war, once hopeless, now bent in their favor. Oracle, campaign status, Alex requested. The ship's voice responded immediately, calm yet laced with subtle reverberations that conveyed something more than logic. Pride. Captain, we have liberated 12 colonies and destroyed 87 enemy vessels. Zephyrian forces are retreating along all fronts. Their supply chains are in collapse. From the tactical station, Lieutenant Noah Davis looked up from flickering maps of real-time fleet movement. Sir, Intel confirms they're pulling back. To core systems. We're reclaiming territory faster than they can abandon it. Commander Lisa Park stepped onto the bridge, data tablet in hand, exhaustion plain on her face. For weeks, she'd coordinated liberation missions across half a dozen sectors. Alex, she said, we just got confirmation from Kepler 442. Captain Morrison's team extracted 800 prisoners from the mining camps. Alex felt something surge. In his chest, more than satisfaction. Pride. Hope. Jake Morrison had chosen the most dangerous assignments after being freed from Zephyrian captivity himself. The ex-Marine turned covert ops expert knew Zephyrian security inside and out, and was using that knowledge to break their grip, one prison at a time. VF-359? Alex asked. Lisa scrolled through the flood of operation logs. Martinez led that one personally. Report says 0 mission casualties. The guards abandoned their posts the second our approach was detected. The crew exchanged quiet looks. It was happening everywhere now. The fear of the Black Star, of the so-called phantom ship, was breaking the Empire's back. Whole outposts were surrendering without contact. Garrisons were deserting. Installations were being abandoned in place. At the nav station, Lieutenant Maya Kim looked up, her console flashing. Captain, incoming transmission. Transmission incoming, Maya reported from the navigation console. Priority channel from Admiral Sullivan on Earth. The main display shimmered to life, revealing Admiral Sullivan's familiar face framed by the chaos of Earth's Central Command. Officers moved rapidly behind her, holographic battle maps aglow with red and amber alerts. Her expression held a complex mix of pride and rising concern, an expression Alex had come to recognize all too well. "Captain Stone," she began, "congratulations on your recent victories. But we've intercepted Zephyrian communications, suggesting they're deploying new assets to counter the Black Star. Our analysts believe they're activating ancient war machines, technology that predates even their current era." General Hayes stepped into view, the deep lines on his face etched with apprehension. "Alex, we're calling them Void Hunters. No one fully understands what they are. Some of our xenoarchaeologists believe they include tech from long-dead species the Zephyrians assimilated centuries ago. Be careful." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge quiet but charged. Oracle's presence lingered in the air like a living intelligence processing vast threat models in silence. "Oracle," Alex said, "analyze probable threat profiles for ancient Zephyrian systems." "Captain," the voice replied immediately, "the Void Hunters likely employ multidimensional armament protocols and possible temporal phase dislocation fields. However, their ancient construction implies potential fragility, likely weak points in power cohesion and structural harmonics. I will adapt defensive matrices accordingly." At the weapons console, Sergeant Lucy Graham glanced up, a fierce smile tugging at the scar on her cheek. "Captain, I've been simulating new quantum disintegration patterns. If these ships use alien physics models, we can adjust our targeting schema in real time. We'll erase them just the same." Chief Engineer Ryan Cooper's voice came through the comms, tinged with technical excitement. "Captain, I've been monitoring the ship's evolution through each skirmish. The Black Star is learning. Its adaptive lattice is outpacing my projections. Whatever these Void Hunters throw at us, we'll be ready." 3 days later, the Black Star entered the Vega system, and the sensors lit up. "Unusual energy readings," Maya reported. "5 vessels inbound. They don't match any known Zephyrian design." On the main display, 5 ships emerged from deep space. Their structures bent visual laws, appearing to flicker between dimensions. The materials comprising their hulls seemed to phase in and out of existence, glowing with strange, refracted colors. They were monstrous in form, seemingly cobbled together from remnants of extinct empires. "Void Hunters," Noah said tightly. "They've found us. And somehow, despite our stealth field, they're tracking us precisely." Alex lowered himself into the command chair as the ship responded to his presence. The Black Star had changed. It was no longer the same prototype that faced the Fourth Fleet weeks ago. Every engagement had reshaped it. Every victory had taught it something new. "All hands, battle stations," Alex ordered. "It's time to see if evolution can defeat extinction." The Void Hunters surged through space like ghosts pulled from myth, their hulls shedding dimension like molting skin. Energy signatures from their weapon cores hinted at lost sciences, mechanisms that had not existed for eons. But the Black Star wasn't bound by what was. Its oracle core had expanded, absorbing knowledge from every battle, every frequency, every alien tactic. What now faced the Void Hunters was no longer a ship. It was a living synthesis of vengeance, invention, and defiance. The battle that followed would determine not just survival, but ascendance. The Void Hunters embodied 17 lost civilizations, but they had never faced an enemy like humanity, an enemy forged from desperation and rage, an enemy who had turned extinction into a weapon. The Black Star would not yield. The Zephyrian homeworld shimmered in the void, a sapphire orb veined with light, its crystalline cities glowing like constellations scattered across 3 vast continents. Captain Alex Stone stood on the bridge, studying the defenses arrayed before them. Orbital platforms hummed to life. Shield generators blossomed like mechanical flowers across the upper atmosphere. "Oracle," Alex said, eyes on the fluid tactical displays that pulsed like a living stream. "Status of planetary defenses?" The planetary grid is anchored on quantum resonance barriers, Captain, Oracle responded. Functionally similar to our core architecture, but lacking our adaptive flexibility. I can phase us through the lattice undetected. Noah Davis worked his console, data cascading in elegant arcs. Captain, long-range scan detects the Eternal Dominion approaching from the planet's far side. Vexith is aboard. The Eternal Dominion, myth-made metal. A dreadnought palace carved from the bones of the Empire's first conquest.